morning, Higher Hope. This is Monday, April 20th. We are meeting again this week, doing some short videos for you on the topic this week. Last week was creativity, this week is family, especially raising kids. And I know this doesn't impact everyone, but I hope that everyone listens because a lot of these principles and ideas are true of any relationship. But we really want to speak into how do we help families, how do we do life in the midst of being in the same house constantly. There's a lot of struggle, but there's also a lot of good that can come out of this season that I hope that many of you are working at redeeming and bringing back. And so just want to talk about family and really raising kids. Again, grandparents you can listen into. If you're an aunt or uncle, this could be applicable to you. But I want to talk this morning about a little bit of a science. And I know you have science class if you're doing homeschooling probably at some point. But I want to talk about this term called mirror neurons. Some of you have probably heard of it, some may not have. This is one of the pieces of, as I've been walking through parenting, has been probably, especially over the last 3 or 4 years, most critical to becoming a better parent is this idea of mirror neurons. Let me explain it first, and then I'll give you an illustration or story of how it works. Mirror neurons are the things that God put in our brain that mirror the person that you may be talking to or living with or seeing across the way. And so how it can work. And you can watch this and see if this is true. But if you're at a meal with someone and they put their hand up, we don't even do it consciously. Sometimes we'll do the same thing, or we'll cross our leg if they cross their leg. We mirror them without even really knowing it. And this is especially true of kids when it comes to emotions. They will mirror what the emotion the parent carries. They'll feel it. If a parent is angry, the kids will be more angry. If the parent is calm, it may let the air out of the balloon for the kid to be calm. And so a lot of what we're trying to work on, I'm trying to work on as a parent, is making sure that I am putting forth something that will not spiral out of control, but that will build into a calming rather than a good cycle rather than a crazy cycle. Let me explain it in a story. This is a couple years ago. We would take one of our children into a store. Gina would, and there would be times that this child would run from her, would throw a fit in the store, and it was multiple times. And so Gina would need to go to the store, and they would have to take this child with her, and Gina would start getting this anxiety over taking the child to the store. And so what would happen is the behavior actually didn't help. It didn't the mirror behavior. So Gina felt anxiety, so the child felt anxiety, and so it ramped up rather than ramped down. She worked hard. Gina worked hard to bring it down, and I asked her to use the story today because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in a lot of ways. Like when we feel anxiety about something, it will ramp up the anxiety, and then the child already probably feeling anxiety over whether it's going into the store, something about what happens in the store, maybe it's people, maybe people seeing them. There's already anxiety in there, and when the parent raises their anxiety because of what the child's doing, it creates more anxiety in the child. And so what we need to do is work very hard as parents of not mirroring the child, but trying to help the child mirror us. This calmness. So when they're angry and frustrated, and they're saying things that are very hurtful, and they may be doing physical things that are tough, rather than our anger ramping up, which is very hard. We have to talk even softer. We have to slow our pace even more. It doesn't mean that you have to be letting it go. You're not letting the behavior go, but you're modeling the mirror neuron thing. You're modeling calmness. You're modeling peace. You're modeling you're trying to let air out of the balloon. It doesn't always work that way, but at least you're not ramping it up. And so mirror neurons are a critical thing to understand, that your anxiety is felt by your kids. Your frustration is felt by your kids, and they will mirror it. Will spiral them. I know, and the pushback is, well, they're causing it. Yes, that's probably true. But if you're responding to their anxiety, you're producing more anxiety in them. So it's almost like this spiral. You have to break the spiral. And so I would encourage you to, and listen, one of the things that I've told Gina multiple times is that great parenting is not always seen in the child that's always compliant and easy. Great parenting is when you are maneuvering difficult situations with kids that are feeling things that are very difficult, that's causing behavior, that you are walking them through it as best as you can. Great parenting happens in there. It may not look like it to other people. It might be craziness in the store to them, but you might be a greater parent than someone who's walking the store with their kids right next to them because you're having to deal with very difficult things. And so, work hard this week at modeling and showing peace. You might have to get. You might not have it in yourself. You might have to. You'll need to get it from God's word, and letting your air out of the balloon so that you can model that for your kids so that they don't spiral out of control.